Tonight, let's slip beneath the surface of something you carry quietly, something you never chose, something older than your name, your birthplace, your memories, your blood. Because in Ireland, blood isn't just biology. It's folklore. It's ancestry. It's a coded message whispered down through centuries. And your blood group? It might reveal things about you that even you didn't know. Welcome back to Moonlight Whisper, where we wander into the hidden corners of identity, history, and the quiet truths that shape us. Tonight, we're exploring the secret meanings behind Irish blood groups, why some are more common here than almost anywhere else, why others hint at rare origins, and how each blood type carries a different story of migration, survival, and ancestral memory. So, open your mind, slow your breath, and listen to what your blood has been trying to say. Chapter 1. O-negative, the ancient sentinel. If you're O-negative, you belong to a lineage that feels older than written memory, older than the first carved stones, older even than the earliest stories carried in the mouths of wandering bards. This blood type doesn't just exist in Ireland. It lingers there like an echo from an ancient world, a remnant that chose its ground and refused to be moved. O-negative appears in unusually high numbers across the island, as though something in the land itself, peat bog, salt wind, granite, river mist, wrapped around this blood and guarded it. Scientists call O-negative the universal donor, but that phrase barely scratches the surface. In the language of ancestry, in the slow, quiet dialect spoken by memory and bone, O-negative is less of a medical category and more of an ancestral watchtower, a tower that has been burning its signal fire for thousands upon thousands of years. Your people were among the earliest to set foot on Irish soil, long before it was divided by provinces or tribes, before kings and saints and recorded history. They arrived when the island was a raw and unruly frontier. Endless forest thick with ancient oak, rivers swollen with glacial melt, fields where nothing yet obeyed human intention. Storms hurled themselves at the coasts with a violence that made survival a daily negotiation with the elements. And yet, your ancestors stayed. They built shelters from stone and sod, learned the moods of the land, tracked the stars for guidance, and spoke with the weather like an unpredictable but familiar neighbor. These early settlers didn't simply survive. They endured. They endured ice age temperature swings that would have crushed less resilient groups. They endured tribal skirmishes where territory meant life itself. They endured famine, disease, colonization, displacement, and every force that sought to erase or absorb them. Through all of it, your bloodline persisted. It crossed eras the way rivers carve valleys, slowly, steadily, and with an inevitability that speaks of deep-rooted strength. To carry O-negative in Ireland is to carry whispers of an older identity, one shaped before written language, before formal leadership, before the island had a name. It hums with subtle traits that rise not from personality, but from inheritance, leadership without noise, the calm authority of someone who doesn't need to announce their power because others simply sense it, loyalty from bone-deep instinct, a protective nature that activates without hesitation, as though coded into the marrow, spiritual memory of old rituals, the pull toward stone circles, sacred wells, ancient paths, and the half-familiar feeling that you've stood there before, resilience that borders on supernatural, the capacity to face what others avoid, to continue when others collapse, to hold steady even in emotional or physical storms. This is sentinel blood, the blood of watchers, guardians, quiet protectors, the kind of blood carried by people who did not seek glory, but ensured that others could find it. They defended hearth and home, kept rituals alive and secret when they were forbidden, shielded family and community, with a devotion that did not need recognition to be powerful. O-negative is the lineage that shaped Ireland silently, in the background, in ways history books rarely notice. But the land itself remembers. It is ancient blood, stubborn blood, steadfast blood, a sentinel presence running through your veins, whispering that you come from a long line of those who watched over the island and refused to let it fall. Chapter 2. O-positive, the heart of the Irish. If you're O-positive, you carry the blood that moves through Ireland, like a steady, familiar heartbeat, constant, grounding, quietly essential. This is the most widespread blood group on the island, not by chance, but because it represents the ancestral rhythm that kept communities alive for thousands of years. Your lineage is the background hum of Ireland itself, the pulse that never faltered, even when the world around it changed beyond recognition. Your ancestors were the ones who shaped daily life in ways that rarely made it into chronicles, but always made it into memory. They were farmers who knew the soil intimately, hands deep in the earth long before agriculture became an art. They coaxed crops from the ground, with patience learned from generations before them, and passed that knowledge down, in quiet instruction rather than written word. They were fishermen who read the tides like scripture, builders who raised stone walls that still stand, craftspeople whose skill carried the essence of the land into every object they formed. These people didn't seek to dominate their surroundings. They adapted to them. They watched the changing skies and understood the language of clouds, wind, and migrating birds. They tracked the seasons not as dates on a calendar, but as living presences, the return of certain flowers, the shift in the smell of the air, the way light changed on water. For them, survival was not an individual task, but a collective one, woven into the fabric of extended families, neighboring households, and tightly knit communities that lived and worked as one. O positive is the communal pulse, the blood of people who stayed, generation after generation, rooted deeply enough that their names still echo in towns, valleys, and quiet country lanes. Your ancestors formed the backbone of Irish society, the keepers of land, the singers of old songs, the storytellers who repeated tales until they became part of the landscape. Their strength was not dramatic or loud. It was the kind that manifested in everyday acts, that built stable lives, and preserved culture across centuries. Your lineage is shaped by stability, the instinct to build a life solid enough to hold not only yourself, but everyone who depends on you. Long-standing tradition, a connection to practices, rituals, and values that survived because your ancestors kept them alive in kitchens, workshops, and fields. Generational memory, the unbroken chain of knowledge, passed through stories, gestures, and habits, so ingrained they feel like second nature. Quiet, everyday endurance, the strength of people who rose each morning and did the work that kept communities functioning, even when circumstances were harsh. Your blood sings softly, never shouting for attention, but humming with a sense of place and continuity. I am part of something that has lasted. This is the pulse that carried Ireland through famine, exile, conflict, and crushing hardship, not through heroics, but through the steady heartbeat of ordinary people who refused to let their culture or their families disappear. O positive is the lifeblood of endurance, the heart that kept beating, kept working, kept remembering, even when everything else felt uncertain. Your lineage is not a story of battles or upheaval, but of constancy, the quiet power that holds a nation together when history grows turbulent. O positive is the heartbeat of Ireland, the rhythm that never wavered, the warmth that kept communities alive, the steady presence that still hums beneath the island's surface, in every village, every family line. And now, in you. Chapter 3, A Positive, the Adaptive Storykeeper. If you're A positive, you stand at the crossroads of ancient Ireland and the wider world. A beautifully blended lineage shaped by movement, innovation, and the gentle but powerful force of cultural exchange. This blood type didn't originate on the island. It arrived with waves of later migrations, carrying with them new skills, new mindsets, and new ways of living. Your blood remembers the footsteps of travelers who crossed seas and continents, people who were drawn to Ireland not just for survival, but because they brought something worth sharing. These ancestors were catalysts. They introduced agricultural advancements that changed how communities fed themselves. They brought metalwork techniques that reshaped tools, weapons, and art. They wove new artistic traditions into the existing tapestry, adding layers of color, symbol, and style. They helped reshape society by creating systems that made daily life more organized, more connected, and more capable of thriving in a complex world. Your lineage is full of thinkers and creators, those who looked at the world not only as it was, but as it could be. They were the ones who saw potential in raw materials, who improved farming practices with careful observation, who carved beauty from stone and metal, who designed structures with both function and meaning. They expanded Ireland's cultural fabric, not by replacing what existed, but by weaving their knowledge into it. With respect and intention, A positive carries the energy of adaptation, the ability to adjust with grace, to find your footing in new environments, and to evolve without losing yourself. Analytical thinking, a mind that notices patterns, discerns what works, and understands how to bring clarity to complexity. Creativity, not just artistic talent, but the deep drive to innovate, to imagine possibilities, to bring forth ideas that didn't exist before. Quiet leadership, influence that comes not from dominance, but from insight, fairness, and the ability to see all sides. A talent for balance, the instinctive gift of harmonizing tradition with change, logic with emotion, stability with growth. Spiritually, A positive people are the story keepers. You're the ones who observe the world with careful eyes, noticing details others pass over. You collect experiences like gems, sorting them, reflecting on them, and eventually transforming them into wisdom that others rely on. You carry stories not as burdens, but as tools, for teaching, for comforting, for reminding people where they came from, and where they still have the power to go. Your bloodline stands between worlds, the old and the new, the local and the foreign, the ancient past and the ever-evolving future. Where others see division, you see connection. Where others cling tightly or reject outright, you hold the center, welcoming growth while honoring roots. A positive is the blood of bridges. It represents the meeting of traditions, the merging of paths, the gentle blending that makes cultures richer rather than diluted. Your ancestors expanded Ireland's possibilities, brought new ideas without erasing old ones, and infused their ways of thinking into the island in a way that continues to shape it subtly, beautifully. Today, your blood is a reminder that identity is not static. It is an evolving story, and you are one of its keepers, a carrier of nuance, knowledge, curiosity, and quiet depth. A person whose lineage speaks of transformation, done with care and purpose. You are the adaptive story keeper, the witness, the interpreter, the bridge. Chapter 4, A negative, the rare memory. If you're A negative, you carry a lineage that feels rare, delicate, and quietly powerful. A thread of ancestry that has survived against the odds, enduring in shadows rather than in the spotlight. This blood group is uncommon across Ireland, and that rarity is not random. It mirrors the history of the people who bore it, families who lived on the edges of the island, in remote glens, mountain valleys, and windswept peninsulas. Communities that were small, tightly woven, and often far removed from the bustling paths of trade and conquest. Your ancestors lived in places where the world arrived slowly, where outside influence trickled in like a distant rumor, rather than a rushing tide. Because of this, ancient customs stayed intact, without anyone deliberately protecting them. Old songs remained in their original forms. Rituals survived in quiet corners, and stories passed from one generation to the next, with very little alteration. In these secluded spaces, people were shaped by the land, in ways modern life barely understands. By the rhythm of tides, the shift of winds, the cycles of moonlight, on fields that once belonged only to the wild. A negative blood holds an almost archival purity, a genetic stillness, a preserved record. It acts like a snapshot of early patterns that managed to slip through time untouched. It carries echoes of older migrations, older ways of seeing the world, older instincts that continue to live quietly inside the people who have the rare gift of this blood type. Your lineage speaks of intuition, a deep inner compass that guides you, even when logic is silent, emotional sensitivity, an ability to feel the subtle tensions, the unspoken truths, the atmosphere in a room before anyone else notices. Ancestral memory, the sense that your dreams, fears, and insights didn't start with you, but are part of a longer thread stretching back through time. A perceptive nature that borders on psychic, a talent for sensing what's beneath the surface, a form of awareness that can't easily be explained, but is undeniably real to those who carry it. In Irish folklore, rare lineages often carried the reputation of being in-betweeners, people who seemed to stand between the seen and unseen worlds. These were the watchers, the ones who quietly noticed what others missed. They sensed danger before it arrived, felt shifts in mood or weather like a warning, and possessed a way of reading people or situations with startling accuracy. Folklore speaks of such individuals as keepers of subtle knowledge, carriers of old truths, guardians of stories that were too fragile for the wider world. A negative blood feels like that, a preserved echo from an Ireland before written history, before kingdoms, before roads, before the island had been carved into the shape we know today. It is the whisper of a people who lived in harmony with land, sky, and silence. A bloodline that didn't need noise to be meaningful, because its power lies in what it remembers. You are connected to that quiet, ancient whisper, not loud, not boastful, but enduring, perceptive, and deeply rooted. Your blood carries memory, and with it, the rare ability to sense what most people overlook. This is the gift of the rare lineage, the softness that hides strength, the subtlety that reveals truth, the quiet that contains whole worlds of knowing. Chapter 5. Be positive and be negative. The unlikely travelers. If you're B positive or B negative, your bloodline stands out like a bright stone carried from a distant river, smoothed by a journey that began far beyond Ireland's shores. These blood groups are relatively rare across the island, and their presence hints at a heritage shaped not by local tides, but by far-reaching winds, wandering feet, and the bold curiosity of human movement. Your ancestry whispers of travelers who didn't simply arrive. They ventured, crossed, wandered, and chose Ireland as the place where their wandering would take root. Historically, B blood is far more common in parts of Asia, the Middle East, the steppes, and certain coastal trading cultures. So when it appears in Ireland, it acts almost like a genetic message in a bottle, a sign that your ancestors carried stories from distant lands and unfamiliar horizons. They may have come through ancient trade routes, bringing goods and skills that were new to the island, or through seafaring journeys, stopping first in Britain, then drifting outward to Ireland's wild edges. Some arrived through chance, a marriage, a lost traveler, a refugee, a wandering craftsman. Their presence subtle at first, yet powerful enough to imprint their lineage on generations to come. You carry a lineage of movement, a bloodline that rarely stayed still. B blood is associated with curiosity, the instinct to ask questions, seek answers, and push beyond the borders of the familiar. Adaptability, the flexibility to step into new environments and blend with ease, shifting between cultures without losing identity. Cultural openness, a natural ability to appreciate difference, to connect with those who think or live differently, to find common ground across distance. The instinct to explore new horizons, the quiet restlessness that says, there is something more out there, go find it. Your ancestors felt the pull of the unknown, the magnetism of lands they'd never seen, the thrill of stepping onto unfamiliar soil. They crossed borders, mountains, deserts, or oceans, relying on instinct, curiosity, and courage, more than certainty. And when they finally reached Ireland, they brought with them stories, customs, skills, and ways of being that enriched the island's rugged tapestry. They folded their histories into Irish life, sometimes seamlessly, sometimes quietly, but always significantly. To carry B positive or B negative in Ireland is to be an outsider insider, a person whose roots reach deep into the local soil, but whose branches stretch far beyond it. You are the reminder that Ireland's history is not as isolated as it often appears, that even on a seemingly remote island, the world has always found its way in, through trade ships, migrating tribes, wandering monks, storm-blown travelers, and love stories that crossed cultural boundaries. Your blood carries the global echo, a resonance that mingles with the Irish spirit, in a way that feels both unexpected and harmonious. It speaks of the weaving together of worlds, of connections spanning continents, and of the quiet truth that identity is always broader than the land beneath one's feet. You are the continuing chapter of that legacy, a soul shaped by Ireland, but also by the great wide world your ancestors once explored, a bridge between the familiar and the foreign, the known and the undiscovered, an unlikely traveler made still, yet carrying in your blood the memory of distant journeys and the potential for new ones. Chapter 6. A positive and a negative, the rarest threads. If you're AB positive or AB negative, You carry one of the rarest blood groups in all of Ireland. A small constellation shining quietly in a crowded sky of more common types. AB blood is not ancient in the same way O is, nor does it belong to one singular origin story. It is a fusion, a joining, a delicate meeting point, where two distinct lineages, A and B, have woven themselves together across time. To be AB is to embody convergence. Your bloodline is the place where migrations intersect, where histories overlap, where stories that once traveled separately finally found one another. This union didn't happen often, which is why AB remains so rare. It required the precise meeting of different peoples, different cultures, different ancestral energies, all aligning in just the right moment to create something entirely new. AB carries the feeling of balance, the ability to hold multiple truths at once, to navigate opposites without losing your center, emotional depth, a way of feeling the world, in layers and subtleties that others often overlook. Duality, the sense of being made from two directions at once, holding within you both contrast and complement. Complexity, a rich inner world that resists easy labels or simple stories. A quiet inner harmony, the rare gift of blending contradictions into something peaceful and whole. People with AB blood often feel like they don't fit neatly into one category, tribe, personality type, or expectation. There can be moments of wondering, where do I belong? But the truth is, your lineage was never meant to fit. It was meant to bridge. You are made from blending, balancing, weaving, merging experiences, cultures, and ways of being. You're not pulled in two directions. You are the meeting point where they finally make sense. In Irish symbolism, where knots represent eternity and threads represent destiny, AB blood is the rare thread, the subtle but essential one that ties contrasting histories together and keeps the pattern from unraveling. It's the thread that doesn't shout for attention, yet holds everything in place. You are the intersection, not ancient like O negative, not steadfast like O positive, not traditional like A, not exploratory like B, but a quiet fusion of all of them in different proportions. You carry the adaptability of A and the outward openness of B, layered with the sensitivity of rare negative lines and the grounded resilience of old Irish ancestry. Your blood is not about singular qualities, but about integration, taking what is different and finding harmony within it. Your presence is like a chord, multiple notes blending into something fuller than any single note could achieve alone. You are the place where stories meet, where journeys converge, where old paths and new paths overlap and continue onward together. AB blood is rare, yes, but its rarity is not fragility. It is intention. It is the outcome of many lives intersecting, of migrations crossing, of distant families and unexpected unions, coming together to create something uncommon and quietly powerful. You are the rarest thread, soft, strong, luminous, a reminder that identity is not a single story, but a tapestry of many threads, woven into one. Chapter 7. What blood truly reveals in Ireland. Your blood type doesn't dictate your personality, nor does it lock you into a single destiny. It doesn't choose your path, your purpose, or the shape your life will take. Yet blood holds something deeper. Not power, not prophecy, but memory. Quiet, ancient memory. And in Ireland, a land shaped by waves of arrival and departure, migration and myth, your blood is one of the oldest whispers you carry. Your blood type reveals the silent journeys that form the Ireland we know today. It reveals the threads of ancestry, woven into your DNA long before you drew your first breath. It hints at where your people came from, how they moved through landscapes and centuries, what seas they crossed, what villages they settled in, and what pieces of the wider world folded themselves into the island's story. It reveals the worlds your ancestors touched, the distant coastlines where they once stood, the mountains they climbed, the storms they survived, the cultures and customs they carried with them. It shows which bloodlines intertwined with Irish soil thousands of years ago, which ones arrived in the Bronze Age, which ones came with later migrations, or through unexpected encounters that shaped family histories forever. Your blood is not a prophecy, but it is a map drawn without ink, a map written in cells and sequences, telling a story that can't be found in parish records or family lore. It is a personal archaeology, a memory carved into your biology, by generations of people who lived, loved, struggled, and spoke languages now lost to time. Your blood is a story that traveled lifetimes to arrive in your body. It passed through famine, empire, war, migration, and all the fragile, human choices that determine who meets who falls in love, who begins a new lineage in an unfamiliar place. Blood is not fate, but it is history, a record of human movement across continents and centuries, a testament to survival, adaptation, and connection. Blood is not superstition, but it is inheritance, a biological memory of where your lineage began and how it changed through time. Blood is not identity, but it can help explain how you became who you are today. It offers context, not conclusion, insight, not instruction. It reminds you that you are part of something older, wider, deeper than your own lived experience. Your blood is the oldest story you carry, older than your name, older than your family tree, older than any written document. It is the whisper beneath all your other stories, the quiet thread woven into you long before you were born, a reminder that you are the final verse of a song that began thousands of years ago and the first note of whatever comes next. So tonight, as you sit with the quiet hum of your own pulse, remember this: you are not just a name. You are a lineage, a migration, a long, unbroken thread, woven through storms, kings, famine, songs, and centuries of unrecorded stories. Your blood is the oldest story you'll ever carry. Listen to it. If you want more journeys into the hidden corners of ancestry, Irish myth, forgotten histories, and the quiet magic woven into everyday life, tap subscribe, leave a whisper in the comments, and share this video with someone who carries an Irish story in their blood. And join me again, under the moonlight, where there is always more to discover.